There are some things that we will not tolerate. We will not tolerate a religious theocracy. We will not tolerate breaking up the country into three parts. And then he went on, he had about 6 or 7 things like that he said the United States wanted to tolerate. And of course, he was speaking for himself. I can't say that this was official policy. But the point was that, like the Soviets at the end of the Second World War, they brought democracy to Poland and Czechoslovakia, but the outcome was preordained.
Now, there's another issue that we haven't covered. There's lots of issues I'd like to go into, but I think we'll probably do the rest of the show on this one, is just Social Security. Mm-hmm. Now, there's all this talk about privatizing Social Security and all these other schemes that, and I agree that something needs to be done about Social Security. I don't think I'm ever going to see a dime of my Social Security, and I don't think anyone that's my age or younger is going to either. But I'm not sure this is the thing to do. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it seems obvious to me that if you're going to be allowed to spend, to control 2% of it, it's going to be control within a very tight structure. They're not going to let you invest in commodities. They're not going to let you buy real estate in Arizona. They're not going to let you buy Swiss francs or whatever. It's going to be a few mutual funds, a few stocks, a few very rigid limitations on that are going to make sure that it is a very lucrative business for a lot of people in Wall Street. And I'm not railing against the Wall Street bankers. I'm just saying that this is one more bit of corporate welfare. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it is the securities brokers and others that will benefit from it. The second thing that hasn't been mentioned is very, very interesting. Both the proponents and the opponents of this refer continually to the stock market versus Social Security. And the opponents say, oh, the stock market is risky, you have down periods, and what happens if you retire when the market is down, and so forth and so on. The proponents say, in the long run, the stock market produces better returns than Social Security does, and so forth. But why is it limited to the stock market? If you're going to be free to invest, you might put it in a bank savings account. You might buy treasury bills with it. You might even buy an annuity to replace Social Security, an annuity that's absolutely guaranteed, where the rate can't be raised and the benefits cannot be reduced by legislative fiat, and where no politician can borrow against it or use it in any way whatsoever. Why does it have to be the stock market? It's my money, don't tell me it's either going to stay in Social Security or I have to buy stocks from E.F. Hutton or Charles Schwab or somebody like that. And yet it seems obvious just by the rhetoric that this is what is planned, that you have to put this money in the stock market.
Couldn't this also, if the government is investing in the stock market, couldn't this have a destabilizing effect on the stock market as well?
Sure, if the government is doing it. Now, the impression you get is that you are going to be allowed to take 2% of it and in some way you invest it and you own these stocks and so forth, and some kind of limitations have been put on it. And the proponents have said very clearly, we're not going to let people just waste this money. They're going to have to do it under strict rules. And but if the government were to invest it, it would be terribly destabilizing, because instead of you deciding on one thing and me deciding on something else, some government manager would decide on one thing for everybody, and it could have an enormous effect on the market, pushing some stocks way up, and because the money was not there for other stocks, letting those stocks go way down. Yeah. Any way you look at it, it can't work. Just briefly, the government owns so many assets, like military bases that aren't being used anymore, pipelines, oil rights, 2/3 of the land in the western states. It goes on and on and on. If they sold off those assets, the chances are there would be enough money to buy annuities for everybody who's dependent on Social Security now or will be in the next 10 or 15 years, and everybody else under, say, the age of 50 who is just freed from Social Security and puts the money in a bank savings account is going to be better off at age 65 than he would have been with Social Security. That's the way out of this, but of course that is not being discussed.
People, the reason that it's not, I think, is because people really feel more secure, thinking that they're going to be guaranteed this money when they get older, that in case some disaster happens, I'm going to be guaranteed this money. I'm going to have some security.
It's easy to feel that, but polls show that most people under the age of 40 don't really expect to get very much out of Social Security. That's not real security. And I don't think we should blame this on the people. I think we should blame it on the politicians who don't want to let go of it. They know something has to be done, and in George Bush's case, he's trying to appeal to a certain crowd, to a certain constituency, but they don't want to let it out of their hands. That's why this talk about the stock market, about not letting people make their own decisions and so forth. And there may be people who wouldn't want to make their own decisions, and those people should just simply buy an annuity. And they will be just as well off, if not a lot better than they are now, and it'll be guaranteed for them.
Or there's money in the bank, some kind of asset.
Right.
It's going to pay off what exists, unlike Social Security.
Right, absolutely.
Where there's no money in the bank. The money has been spent.
Yeah, either the money is returned to the customer, or another company takes it over and takes on the obligation to deliver that the original company had taken on.
Well, thanks for coming out, Harry. It's always wonderful to have you on the show. And what would you say to people out there who are thinking about listening to us today and thinking that maybe the Libertarian Party is the place for them, or to those that say it's not?
Well, the first thing to do is to find out, and you don't have to agree with everything that libertarians agree with, although a year or two or three down the line you may well do so. It's really a case of realizing that government does not deliver on its promises, so we need better ways to have health care, better ways to educate our children, better ways to do things, ways by which everybody involved has agreed so that nobody is operating under duress and trying desperately to get out of it, and thereby not fulfilling their obligations. And so this is something that we can all agree on. We just have to figure out how to implement it. And I think that most people watching this right now would agree that we do not want to force people to do things. We want to be able to do things in a civil way. The mark of civilization is a lack of force. And that's what we want for America. And I invite anybody to find out more about it.
And you can find out more by going to www.lp.org, where you can join us there online. Or you can give us a call at 1-800-ELECT-US. And there are also lots of other sites on the internet where you can find out more. Harry Browne, if you do a search out there, harrybrowne.org.
Just harrybrowne.org, yeah.
And there's also a radio show, which is archived online, that Harry has. And thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And I hope that your radio show will be spreading out more and more throughout the U.S. Is it?
Yes, and on March 1st, I'm starting a television show.
Wonderful.
A daily 1-hour internet television show through the Free Market News Network, which you can get to at freemarketnews.com.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't give up.